Hi, I'm Linda Mowell, and welcome to Art This Week. On this week's episode, we visit the Dallas Museum of Art, and our interviewer, Leah Constantine, speaks with curator Olivier Meslay about the exhibition Vermeer Suite, Music in 17th Century Dutch Painting. Now for Art This Week. Hi, I'm here with Olivier Meslay at the Dallas Museum of Art to talk about the exhibition Vermeer Suite, Music in 17th Century Dutch Painting. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So I'll start out by talking about the collection of works. This is from the Leiden collection, correct?
Yes, it's a private collection in New York, which has a name, which is the Leiden collection, and it's solely dedicated to 17th century Dutch painting.
And what is the relationship that the DMA has with the Leiden collection?
Well, we know the owner of the collection, the collector, and he very kindly allowed us to borrow all this painting and this Vermeer in particular for this exhibition. We could do a completely different exhibition with the same collection because it's such a large collection. There is 250 painting in the collection. There is Rembrandt, but of course the most prized and the most desirable painting for any connoisseur amateur in the collection is the Vermeer, and we were very lucky to secure this Vermeer for the DMA during the past years.
Yes, and this painting is what inspired this collection that we have now at the DMA.
Yes.
What about this painting inspired you to create this collection, and how did other works come about from its qualities?
Well, in fact, the Vermeer, this Vermeer is, as often in Vermeer, a third of the painting in Vermeer works are about music, and when you look at Dutch painting in the 17th century, the music plays a big role. And around the Vermeer, we wanted to do something which was meaningful and also had being consistent. That means you could do very different things about Vermeer, but this was sort of quite obvious choice.
What were Vermeer's practices with art? He's obviously very skilled. Was he educated in painting, or did he just practice enough to where his skills excelled?
No. He was trained as a painter. We know almost nothing about his training, but we know that he was trained. We are guessing we could have been trained with Fabricius, who was one of the great painters in Delft, who unfortunately died just after Vermeer became master. That means you cannot be a painter in Holland in the 17th century without training. You have to go through the entire training. It was it's very unionized in a way. It was not union, but it was guild. The guilds were in fact had rules. You cannot be a master without having a training. You cannot have an apprentice without being a master, and you cannot sell painting without being a master. I mean, it was a very organized situation and very organized.
Could you specifically tell us about this work in particular?
Yes, in fact, this painting is among the painting in the mid-career of Vermeer, when in fact he's focusing on very few objects. At the turn of his career, in the 50s, when he left the biblical subject and the large scale, he started to focus on one or two persons in a room. But even at the beginning, there was quite many things. There is a lot of objects, there was a lot of things happening. And we know now that, because we can go through X-rays, through the painting, that, for example, one of the first paintings he made in this sort of style, that means small, dedicated to one or two people in a room, he suppressed a lot of things. At the beginning there was a man in the door, there was a dog, there was more things on the table, and then he slowly went to the very minimum. In this case, you cannot go further than this. You have a lady on a chair, the virginal, and a wall without anything on the wall. There was not even a picture on the wall. I mean, you have only the gray on the back. And it's really this sort of meditative aspect of Vermeer which is absolutely fascinating. He was probably the most meditative artist ever in Holland. The other one are always interested to do more or to do more detailed things. And he's not even interested in detail, because in fact when you look at them very closely, he's known also to have paint with little dots that are in fact making the fabric or the wood. At the same time, when you are not too close or not too far, you have the feeling that it's a perfect representation, sort of trompe-l'œil. But when you go a little bit closer, you realize that everything is unfocused. And this unfocusing aspect of the painting is also giving us this sort of dreamlike vision.
And Vermeer created very few paintings. I believe it was less than 40 in his lifetime.
Yes.
So what does that say about his relationship with music, since he did create these paintings about music?
I think there is probably, we could go in two directions to explain why music. The first one, and the exhibition in fact explained that in a certain way, music was everywhere in Holland and in Netherlands in the 17th century. It was at the same time music for church. It was a Calvinist country. There was no other art allowed in the beside architecture in the church, and music was very important on this aspect. There was also a social aspect. People were gathering to play music. It was also probably sort of intellectual and cerebral exercise. And then there was a lot of entertainment in taverns. That means music was very important in general. For Vermeer, probably there is something about quietness and music in Vermeer. It's very interesting to see that he's always playing with, not always, but often playing with music in his paintings. But at the same time, a lot of the pleasure we have with Vermeer and the thing that he's really expressing in an amazing way is quietness and calm. And the combination of the idea of music and calm is a very interesting combination in Vermeer. And I think that is probably, I think he was interested in this combination.
So we see in this painting and a lot of other paintings in this collection by Vermeer's contemporaries, different instruments that are used in the portrayal of music in the 17th century. What is the significance of each musical instrument that are put into these paintings?
Yeah, here we have three instruments that we could see in the representation here. You have the cello, you have the harpsichord, the virginal, and you have the violin on the back. In this case, the representation of music is here about entertainment. There was entertainment, there was sacred music, there was also sort of social entertainment, but far more elegant. But this is not the elegant part of the musical entertainment. As you can see, you are in a tavern, or you are probably in a house which is not very well kept, because when you look at the details, there is a broken pipe, there is also paper and tobacco on the ground. I mean, people are really playing for pleasure, and it seems it could be also before a gathering or after a gathering when the musicians are interested in playing for themselves. On the background, you have this servant who is cleaning the house, in fact, which is not at all a grand environment. It's not at all an elegant environment. But obviously, it's a lot about the pleasure. You see the girl who is probably singing. She has her mouth slightly open. The one on the back is also probably singing a little bit. It's a lot about pleasure. There was a lot of interesting note for the people in Holland in the 17th century. Each instrument was sometimes linked with or a sacred aspect, but also sometimes with a sort of it was an allusion to love, to pleasure, to sex also, and there was a lot of that in the paintings.
So this is now another painting that we see where a woman is portrayed playing a musical instrument. What is the significance of gender in the roles in the 17th century according to musical instruments at the time?
This painting by Vermeer is interesting because we were talking previously about this painting by Terbosch representing people playing in a tavern. That is a completely different subject. We are here with a lady by herself in a very elegant and obviously very rich dress. You have the fur, you have the silk, you have the red. She's beautifully dressed and she's obviously from a high society background. And you can see that also in the architecture, which is very elegant with the columns. At the same time, it's also about music, love, and probably a lover. Because everything is talking about that. When you look, the lute was something that you were playing in a more intimate environment. And she's at the same time elegantly dressed, but at the same time there is something, she seems to give up a representation of herself. The fact that her dress is a little bit disturbed, the fact that her décolleté is a little bit more open than usual, is also indicating that she's talking about love and probably about her lover. And you have something also which is the Cupid on the back, which is linking music with love. And the fact that she seems to be abandoned to thought or to dreams is also linked with this music and love aspect of the painting.
So music has always been a big part of everyone's lives growing up, and even still to this day. What do you think is the significance of having this collection of music and 17th century painting now in the 21st century?
It's a very interesting question. I think I think because of the age of this painting, I mean the fact that we are almost now 400 years a part of that. It's also it's very interesting to see that we are still doing the same 400 years after. I mean, we are still, as you just said, it's very interesting to see that we are still interested by the same thing now in an environment which seems to be completely different with the new media, the social media, but music is always important, and live music is always important. And in the same way, that means you have sacred music still, you have this very organized, strong, very well educated musicians that are providing us concert or at the symphony or in bands. And then you have also gathering of people that are playing music for themselves and for their own pleasure and not for a public. And that is something that you can find still in the Dutch painting of the 17th century, exactly the same. That means if you go to a barbecue place in Dallas where there is music and there is some, you will have the same feeling that in the painting with Terbosch. That means you will have garbage on the floor, and you will see that people are enjoying, and the fries will be in the dirt, and it's what we do. But they were doing the same 400 years ago, and we have the same life, and that is also one of the magical aspect of Dutch painting. It tells us about real life, and that is very important. When you think about Italian painting, when you think about French painting, they are often talking about big ideas, philosophy, or history on a grand way. The Dutch are giving us a completely different material. They are talking about our life, and we have the same life than them.
Olivier, thank you so much for joining us
Pleasure.
today and for sharing this exhibition with us.
Thank you.
We want to thank Olivier for speaking with us. For more information on the exhibition, go to dma.org. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
I still got your Polaroid.